Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
When I finally graduated from law school, and I say finally, I went through a joint degree program, got my MBA and my law degree at the same time. Not bragging, kind of embarrassed. I mean, I went right through undergrad, right out of high school into undergrad, right out of undergrad into this program that took another 4 years. It was draining. I mean, I had enough of school at that point in time. So when I finally got out and took a job downtown Columbus as a tax consultant with what is now PricewaterhouseCoopers. Great job, great pay, great everything. I just didn't want to do taxes for the rest of my life, so that led me into really what I do now. That's a whole nother conversation. But I was driving downtown every day to go to work, and the office I was in was pretty much dead center of downtown. If you're familiar with Columbus, Ohio, they have the Capitol building, and my offices, weren't my offices, were the offices where I went, was at the corner of Broad and 3rd Street. So it overlooked the State House. So right downtown, right in the dead center of things. So I drove downtown most days. For a little while, I took the bus, but that wasn't going to work out just because I had to go racing off to clients, and it wasn't cool to go take the bus home to go get my car. Whole nother conversation. So I'm driving downtown, and really the only thing I had at that point in time, I was renting an apartment. I had clothes. I get it, but the only real thing I had was a car. And I was very particular about where what I did with my car. It wasn't a great car. You had to roll the windows down. They weren't even automatic. Probably didn't have airbags. It had a seat belt. 88 Chevy Cavalier. It was wasn't my first car, but it was the first car that I bought. And so I was, I'm making payments. It's my car. I'm particular about it, and I'm particular about where I'm going to park the thing. Now, I'm just getting out of school. I have student loans from undergrad. I've got student loans from grad school and law school. Got an apartment. When you start out anywhere, you're not bankrolling lots of money. I didn't have tons of money, and so I wanted to be careful as to how I spent my money. And so I'm looking for a parking situation. Now, mind you, I'm close to the dead center of town, and the closer you get to the dead center of town, the more expensive it gets. And I didn't want to, I didn't live that far from downtown. I didn't want to drive halfway and walk the other half. That seems pointless, I should say. So I wanted to get reasonably close to my office, and I didn't want to pay a lot of money. So, I networked, talked to people in the firm. Where do you park? What do you think? And a couple of my friends were parking at this particular garage, and I'm like, Frank, it's inexpensive. It's 2 blocks from the office, and it's inexpensive. They called it the Bilgewater because it was a parking deck, and there was water dripping all the way down through the ceilings, down to the bottom of the parking garage. I think they fixed it up since then, but it was pretty sketchy, to be honest. But it was inexpensive, and I'll give you that. And it wasn't coming down. A lot of people park there, so I mean, it's still there. It is still there. But at any rate, there was a catch. In addition to it being kind of run down and leaking water everywhere, the catch is that you had to leave your keys with the attendant so they could move your car. They were going to maximize as many cars as they could get into this place. It's cheap. They were charging $10,000 a month to park your car there. You could expect you'd be the only car. But if they were going to charge us, I don't know, maybe it was $30 a month. It wasn't a lot. If they were going to charge you, $30 a month, let's just say, or whatever it is, 50, whatever, they're going to try and get a lot of cars in there, and they did. So, if you were there early, chances are somebody was parking behind you when you went to leave. And so, you would have to say, well, I'm in third floor, slot 26, and they would, go up there and they would move whoever's car. Um, Conversely, if you got there later, let's say I was going to a client and I came to the office later, I would be parked behind somebody, or they would just stack. I had a place to park. They didn't guarantee where I would park. It wasn't reserved. It's just the way of the world. And that, kind of unnerved me a little bit. I'm giving my keys to, this is my car. It's not a great car, right? But it's my car. And I'm giving my keys, largely to a stranger, if you will. And just trusting that, they're going to take care of it. Obviously, there's a larger company behind all of this, and, but you're kind of thinking immediate. This is the person I'm handing my keys to. And so I just figured, maybe subconsciously, not consciously, that I was going to just get to know my parking lot attendant. Nothing, you know, nothing in depth. It wasn't, hey, let's go camping this weekend and really get to know each other. It was nothing like that. It was just, hey, how you doing, kind of conversations, and just acknowledging people. And I did, and I got to know a few of the people there. One of the stories I tell from this experience, there was one guy, still in contact with him, still friends through the wonder of Facebook, Dwayne Lester and his wife Sherry. When they got engaged, Dwayne asked me to be his best man, which was pretty cool, and I did, and still friends with them all these years later. But the story I often tell about this experience was, there was a particular person who, she was kind of the keeper of the keys. When you parked, you would either walk down the stairs or walk past this particular area where Twyla was there, and she would take the keys and you would tell her where you parked. I'm on the third floor, slot 26, and she would put these keys on a big board and kind of keep track of everything that was going on. Pretty important, I think, to try and keep track of all the cars. But at any rate, I would stop and I would talk to her pretty much every day. Hey, Twyla, here's my keys, third floor, slot 26. I keep picking on that. I don't think I ever parked that high up, but at any rate, doesn't matter. So she'd take the keys and we just have a little conversation every day. How you doing, Twyla? How's your day going? Oh, it's going great. I don't think she knew my name. Everybody was honey to her. And mind you, there are hundreds of attorney types coming and going. I had friends who worked at the firm with me, friends at other firms who were working there, hundreds of professional types coming and going. And I was dressed up for work. It was kind of the norm back then. You'd wear a suit, you'd wear a tie. You didn't wear your sport coat in the office or your jacket in the office, but you sure as heck showed up with one. And so, she kind of knew that I had a professional position of some sort. But at any rate, how you doing? How's it going? How's your daughter? How's your granddaughter? Women like to talk about their kids. They especially like talking about their grandkids. Just a little conversation every day. Well, one day she stopped me and she said, my daughter's in this modeling agency, and they're tasked with finding people to be extras in this movie. They're shooting a movie they're shooting movies, I think is all she said. And they're looking for attorney types to be extras in it. I'm like, oh, be an extra. My sister had been an extra in a movie, and so I thought, okay, this is pretty cool. I'll do it too. So I got the information and went off to go to be cast for this particular movie. I'm an attorney. I'll be an extra. I'll be an attorney extra. And my buddy Greg Hickman, shout out to Greg. I've talked about him on this podcast. He and I went up to the casting, and we made little portfolios. I got a little information from my sister on what we should do, and we had portfolios made up before we went up. And we're in line to go to this particular casting, and I call it Disney-esque, right? I mean, you're just walking up and down, back and forth, going through this casting, hundreds of people, and really didn't know anything about it. But as we're talking to people, and you're talking to the same people, you keep passing them back and forth. Hey, it's a Stephen King movie. Well, I didn't read Stephen King. I didn't read it all, but I'm going to be in a movie. What do I care? The movies, Rita Hayworth, Shawshank, something or another. I didn't know. I didn't care I was going to be in a movie. Well, it turned out it was The Shawshank Redemption. And if you go to see The Shawshank Redemption, if you haven't, shame on you. Spoiler alert. The opening scene is a courtroom scene. It was actually filmed in Upper Sandusky, Ohio, and that's where Andy Dufresne, or is it Dupree or Dufresne? Anyhow, he was being convicted for the murder of his wife and her lover, which sets up the whole movie with Andy going off to prison. So they definitely needed extras for attorney types to be extras in that scene, but I was cast as a prisoner. I was put in the opening prison yard scene with 500 other guys. And there's a little bit of humor in that. I get it. Whenever I tell that story to groups, there's a lot of laughter, and rightfully so. But it was a good day. Now I made minimum wage, took a day off of work, go make minimum wage to be in this scene, and got to actually stand and talk to Morgan Freeman. That's not nothing. Met other people. It was a good time. It was a good experience. But of all the people that were there, I was probably the only person who got that opportunity. Or excuse me, of all the people that parked in the parking garage, I was probably the only person that Twyla talked to about that opportunity. Why? Because I took the time every day just to say hello, just to acknowledge her. And I'm going to title this particular episode, "This Networking Tip Might Just Land You in Prison." That sounds cute. I'm going to go with it. But, that networking, that little networking it landed me in prison in the best possible way. I was an extra in a major movie, probably one of the best movies of all time. Certainly, as far as a drama, it's up there, right? It's a great movie. And it was just because I took the time to talk to Twyla. Every contact has opportunity out there. Every contact. You don't know who people are connected with. I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of people just like, oh, I don't know what her name is. Give me my keys. Let me go on my way. She's just a parking lot attendant. What do I care? Dwayne Lester, I'm not going to waste time having a conversation with Dwayne. What consequence could he possibly have in my life? You don't know. We don't know who people are connected to. We don't know what's going to become of them. People start out in one place and they end up in a totally different place. We all find our way, on different paces, right? Some people know. I had a friend in school, knew he was going to be a surgeon and ended up being a surgeon. I have another friend, I'll get into these stories other times, and another friend who, just wanted to go to college. Thought he would be a bartender. Now he's a professor. You never know where people are going to go. You don't know who people are going to meet. I love the quote from the book, Three New People. And the quote essentially goes, "You have no idea what opportunities await you on the other side of the next connection." And the author of that book is Brian Miller. Three New People, Brian Miller. I quote that all the time. You have no idea what that next connection is going to lead to. Just have a conversation with people. I'm not saying people need to be on your holiday card list or you need to go have beers with them or anything like that. But there's a tremendous power in just meeting people, in just having a little conversation, showing them a little bit of attention. I'm not saying you'll end up in a major motion picture, but I do know this. If you don't have the conversation, you never will.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.